Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fight Addicts. Get ready to explore the past, present, and future of MMA with your hosts, Seth Oliver and Ben Korn.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode number 17 of the Fight Addicts. Today is July the 31st, 2019. And first off, I want to apologize to you guys for being a little inconsistent the past 2 weeks and a little late on episodes. Ben and mine schedules have been kind of crazy and mixed up more than usual the past 2 weeks, but we're back. Planning on being consistent from here on out.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Ben, how's everything going tonight?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Did you like this past week's fights? Because I know that you have a lot to say about them. And your man, Frankie Edgar, actually did good.
He did good. He didn't do good enough.
It's true.
I thought that he was going to be the answer, but he was unable to answer the question of how to take down Max Holloway.
That is true.
So he lost, which was how I saw it going if he couldn't secure a takedown. I did not expect Frankie to be able to overcome Max in a striking battle because of the 8-inch height difference or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was something ridiculous.
I think it was 5 inches, 5'11" and 5'6".
But how long was the reach?
Only 1 inch.
Really?
Yes, and Max's reach is 69 inches. Frankie Edgar's is 68. Because that really surprised me too. And Rogan made a comment about it during the commentary. He said something about Max's huge reach advantage. And I was like, that's actually not right. He only has a 1 inch reach on him.
Well, I bet you Rogan would probably retort with, when you're taller than your opponent, punching down, it gives you an advantage.
That is true.
Even if your arms are the same length and you are punching the same distance, the guy who's taller is going to... If there's a guy who's for some reason taller, one of them just got really long arms or one of them's really got really short arms for beating the tall guy. Yeah. All
right, well, before we continue on to the rest of the card, a thing that we're wanting to introduce is This Week in UFC History. It's a new thing, as we are the podcast that explores the past, present, and future of MMA. So looking back from the week of July 28th to August the 3rd, some important things that happened within the world of UFC. Alvarez versus Poirier 2 took place on July the 28th. Probably the biggest thing was Daniel Cormier versus John Jones 2, which took place on July the 29th. Some other notable fights were Robbie Lawler versus Tyron Woodley, which happened on July the 30th. Ronda Rousey versus Bethe Correia, August 1st. And then on August the 3rd, Jose Aldo versus the Korean Zombie. So that's kind of what happened in the UFC, according to This Week in the past.
Korean Zombie, that fight ends with him dislocating his shoulder in the fight. And Jose Aldo kicking him in the arm, like when he realizes that his arm is like popped out, and Jose like tries to kick him, and the ref is like, "You can't fight with your shoulder out of socket.
Yeah,
you lose." I think if I'm remembering that fight right. And then the Bethe Correia Rousey fight had the lead up where Bethe Correia was like, she doesn't want to fight me. She ought to just kill herself. And then Rousey's like, yeah, my dad actually killed himself. And everyone's just like, oh, well. I said that she should have doubled down and been like, your father had a time machine and saw you fight with me?
Wow.
I think that would have probably gotten some kind of censorship from the UFC.
Yeah,
but
probably. Well, yeah. I mean, they like to promote criminal activities like we talked about in the past. Not that that's a criminal activity, but just dark things in general.
That was the thing. I always said that I was going to write articles for this Fight Addicts thing, which I have not done.
But that's understandable, though.
But one idea that I had was points at which they actually have had to step in and say things or stop someone. Because there have been points where they didn't need to, and they fined someone or suspended someone without exactly having good cause. An example would be Miguel Torres, like we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
He tweeted something that, obviously if you were in the NFL, you couldn't tweet that. But it was in the era of Dana White's rant against Loretta Hunt, which if you haven't seen that, just look it up. And the entire time you're watching it, please understand that that guy is going to address the Republican National Committee for to be like, yeah, we're endorsing Donald Trump. That's neither here nor there. Take it for what it is. But that video exists, and it should disqualify you in some way from being able to just be like, yeah, I apologize. I don't know. It also should disqualify you from being able to penalize someone for what they say, because you, as the president of the organization, have just become like a homophobic, sexist, bigoted, horrible human in this rant. And you're the head and face of the organization into infinity, regardless of it. So, there's that. But the thing I wanted to do the article on was the first time that the UFC was like, you can't say those things, was the Markus Davis and Dan Hardy fight. Because
It's one of your favorites.
Yeah, because Dan Hardy was like, I'm way closer to being an Irishman than him. He's from Boston. Markus Davis is from, that doesn't make any sense. And then Markus Davis was like, well, I hope you die of AIDS. and they were
such
like,
a way to reply to that.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah.
You can't tell people that.
Markus Davis was the flying squirrel, right? Was that his nickname at one point?
He was the angry Irish hand grenade.
Okay.
Flying squirrel.
I swear at one point in time, was that not a nickname in his career?
Not to my knowledge.
Was any fighter associated with that?
I'm going to find out what you're talking about.
Okay.
I will find out before this is actually aired what you're talking about.
Okay.
But no.
Well, yeah, we'll address it in the next episode. So,
to my knowledge, Markus Davis is a guy who had a boxing background and wore kilt.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I know who Markus Davis is.
Yeah.
Just at some point, I could have sworn all my life that was his nickname. I don't know where that's coming from, but I'm visualizing him walking out, and they called him that. I don't know if it was a joke or what, but I don't know. We'll have to look into it.
Seth is suffering from CTE, everybody.
Got the Tony Ferguson disease right now.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get into our listener questions for the week.
Hey.
The first one comes from Frame MMA on Instagram. He said, who have you guys got for Romero versus Costa? And that fight is coming up at UFC 241. It is in the featured fight slot right before the co-main event.
I think that there's only one winner in that fight, and that would be whey protein. I think probably you should put some stock in baby oil before that fight. But, I think Romero is going to win. Romero's going to finish him.
So you're pretty confident in that?
I mean, Costa's got a lot of power. And
yeah, I think Costa poses a pretty good threat.
You never know. I mean, I feel like if he gets him the way that Tim Kennedy had him, he'll finish him. Mm-hmm. Costa will finish Romero if he gets him hurt like Tim Kennedy did, but I don't think that Costa's as good as Tim Kennedy.
Okay.
I think Costa's kind of gotten there on being a freak powerful guy, and he's about to run into his better.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm torn on it, and I change my picks a lot before the fight. I usually make my official pick the day, the morning of or the day before the fight. I've said Romero for the longest time. Tonight, I'm kind of feeling like a Costa upset could happen because of what you're saying. Just some freaky power thing. Maybe he lands a good body shot on Yoel or something happens, and he just kind of puts him out. If Costa is to
land
win,
a body shot on Yoel and put him out.
No, I'm just saying that's the cause of it, not that's what puts him out with a liver shot or anything like that.
I'll buy
some big shot.
I'll buy a Paulo Costa T-shirt and wear it everywhere if he finishes Yoel with a body blow.
Okay, not finished with the body blow, but
if he hurts him with the body, if he Brock Lesnar's him with the body blow,
yeah,
where he's up, where he makes him grab his gut.
All right, you want to bet tonight? A friendly bet.
What is a friendly bet on this? What do I have to do?
Well, how about this? Loser has to wear our face T-shirts at the Fight Addict store. There's a T-shirt with just your like cartoon face, and there's one with my cartoon face. The loser has to wear the other ones for an entire month's worth of episodes.
I don't. It should be like the loser has to wear the other ones like to like important events, like job interviews, like where you have to wear your other one's face on a T-shirt. It's like, hey man, thanks for coming in. Just one question: do you have a cartoon character face of another man on your shirt? Because this is kind of a formal job interview.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we won't be having a job interview anytime soon, but I don't know. We'll figure out something. But
yeah.
We'll figure out the wager, but that's the friendly bet for now.
Yeah, I'd say that it's got to be at least 85% to 90% Romero.
I would say 70 to 75%.
If they're like, oh, it's plus 600
I'd
for
be putting my money on
Costa,
Costa,
then you should be like, let's roll the dice because he's got the power to knock anybody out, I feel like. But, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll make our official picks when the time comes, but for right now, I guess that's kind of where we stand.
I think it's a 50-50 that fight happens.
Oh, you think it get canceled again?
I'm just so cynical about the way those dudes look and the way that they're getting drug tested.
All right, question.
Yeah.
Which fight is more likely to materialize, the Diaz-Pettis fight or this fight? Because that's the same card.
Diaz-Pettis.
Is more likely to happen in this fight?
Yes.
I don't know.
Because Diaz just has to not smoke weed.
Exactly,
but,
yeah.
I mean, I get you. I understand that.
Yeah.
But, like, he hasn't
not smoked weed, but think of his contract.
He's done it before, okay? Mm-hmm. He's been able to not smoke weed before and get paid.
That's all very true.
He's not his brother. His brother is the one that gets constantly weed busted. Has Nate gotten constantly weed busted? Nick has gotten constantly weed busted. He's not the same guy as Nick. When you look at somebody who's a PED user, it's different than somebody who's like, I like to get high and laugh at cartoons.
I totally agree with all that. But this is also the guy that fought Conor McGregor, and ever since then, he's been very, I want my money. I'll pull out of fights like he pulled out of the Poirier fight, which we don't know all the details of that. But it's been hard to book Nate ever since then. And so I just see a lot of problems with that fight actually happening. I pray to God that both of them happen. But you see what I'm saying?
He wants that fight, though.
That's true. There is some extra motivation since
he
Pettis.
Wants to fight Pettis. And it makes sense why he wants to fight Pettis.
I would say it goes 55% to 45%. That like Diaz Pettis is 55%. Romero Costa is 45%.
It's way high. Are we just talking about a drug test failure? Or
no, we're just talking about those two showing up in the octagon on that night.
It's
due to whatever reasons.
It is way higher that Pettis and Diaz happens.
I think it's slightly higher.
Whenever you're like, oh, there are two huge freak guys that are like going to they have popped. Both of them have popped. Yoel Romero won like $1 million because apparently
he won $27 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, good for him. That company should be shut down because they're putting things in pills that they are not telling people about. Yeah. They should be like held criminally liable because they're putting things in pills and then selling them to the public, and you can really hurt people doing that.
But he won $27 million, and he's still coming back to fight. So that is something where I'll give Yoel a knock for that. But he didn't just pull a Conor, and he's just kind of like gonna fade into the distance with all his money.
Yeah.
So like, there's still motivation, literally just to step in the cage and fight.
He's a soldier of God. Yeah.
He has to do what he's got to do.
Yeah. And I think that he has here's the thing. When you look at those guys, this is where I was going with this. When you look at those dudes' bodies, I feel like either they're going to test positive for whatever is making those guys are so one in a bajillion to look like that naturally. Like, I'm not saying that you can't.
Right.
But
You're an outlier if you do.
You're Herschel Walker if you do.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, somehow I believe that, like, maybe that guy's clean just because of what a freak he is, I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
the fact that he claims too that he's never lifted weights, for anybody that doesn't know, he claimed
football player.
even in college. Did he lift weights in college?
I don't know, but he was one of the, like, Bruce Lee, like, he does, like, 1,000 push-ups a day, 1,000 crunches a day, all of that stuff.
Pull-ups, chin-ups, all that.
Yeah. Bo Jackson kind of freak. Like, just this athlete that's like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But anyway, say all of that to say, when you look at guys that are unnaturally muscled, those guys get hurt easier than guys who are not unnaturally muscled. Pro wrestling, the bigger muscle suit they have on, like Triple H tears his quad. Like, when you grow these muscles that are unnaturally large, they mess up. Like, you're designed to look a certain way and be a certain build. And I feel like Yoel Romero is somehow designed and made to be that. Paulo Costa kind of has the Bobby Lashley muscle suit look to him. Like, why do you have that much beef on you?
I agree with that.
When you have that much, you become less mobile. And stuff gets tighter, and you're going to, I mean, obviously there are people who are listening to this that are like, that doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, like Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, these guys that used to be small, and then they took steroids and became huge. They became immobile because of that, and their body broke down quicker. It helped you heal from injury quicker, but they couldn't keep sustaining.
Yeah. Okay. Next question, and this comes from at the start on Instagram, who I just want to say very quickly. To start, I hope that you're listening to this, but she has been a faithful follower of this page and podcast, and I won't go into all the details, but she just had a great attitude and has helped us out with some things. And I just want to say thank you for that if you're listening, and I really appreciate it. Her question was, do you think the UFC is not taking care of Cyborg? Will it be better for her to move to another organization?
Yeah, the UFC has become openly aggressive towards Cyborg.
Yeah, I was going to say you need to carry this one because you probably know a little bit more about it than I do.
Okay, so Cyborg's really interesting. Now, in a way that I never expected her to be interesting, in the sense that when she came into the UFC, she had a lot of clout because she was probably going to do to Ronda Rousey what Holly Holm and Amanda, more like what Amanda Nunes did to her.
Yeah, finish her within a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably more violently. Kind of the way that Holm finished her, just in the speed that Nunes did. And they didn't want the wheels to come off that train, so they kept them apart by making Rousey just about kill herself to make 135, and Cyborg could never get down that low. And they pretty much tried to frame it as she's afraid to fight Rousey. Rousey framed it as she could make 135 if she would stop taking steroids, because she tested positive for steroids in Strikeforce. And nobody ever brings up the fact that Rousey fought at 145 before the Strikeforce thing. When she came in, she fought at 145. But anyway, so Cyborg gets to the UFC. She is brought in as a big name, but, like, there's not really that many 145-pound women to fight.
Right, which is still the case.
And they were constantly trying to get Cyborg Rousey. And then Holly Holm derailed everything. Rousey kind of became too big. She got out of the control of Dana White. She was basically like The Rock was in WWF, to where, like, he became bigger than the company that he worked for.
Yeah.
Outside of the company, he didn't need the company anymore to be a millionaire. Mm-hmm. And he didn't need to go get hurt in any way, shape, or form. But he's allowed to come and go as he pleases and
So
they
like
can't
Conor.
ever
Yeah.
they can't ever say anything bad about him, you know. So that shows in your work. Like in The Rock's work, he wasn't as good as of a professional wrestler once he'd already become a millionaire movie star. Once Rousey's over there filming Expendable 3, like, yeah, Amanda Nunes is going to beat the brakes off of her.
Yeah.
Because she's not really, her heart isn't in this.
She's not focused.
It's not 100% game on.
Right. That's the key.
You know? Yeah. And that's true. That's been true of a lot of great people. Like, you think back to Lennox Lewis losing to Hasim Rahman. Like, Lennox Lewis is one of the greatest boxers of all time, but then he went and made this, like, I think it was like Black and White, like this movie that he was in. He didn't train because he's better than Hasim Rahman. And it's like, oh, this is the opportunity of this man's life. And he's a trained professional boxer that is coming for you. And if he catches you once, he's a heavyweight. You're going to be hurt and in trouble. And you slipped, and now you're done. You lost the championship because you went and filmed this movie, really. That's what happened. I mean, that's not what happened to Rousey. Rousey's not as good as Nunes because she fell in love with arm and striking. Yeah. And so Cyborg's role in that was she always felt like she was going to be able to dethrone Rousey. Rousey gets dethroned by someone else. And then they're like, okay, we'll fight the girl that's here now because people know who you are. And we can just put all the eggs in one basket. And if you lose, we can kill the division because there aren't really a bunch of 145-pound women.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the last fight on her contract, or it's the fight before the last fight on her contract.
Right.
So when she loses, they really wanted Spencer to win against her so that they could just put her out to pasture and let her go fight Julia Budd in Bellator, which is still I think that's probably what she should do on a personal level.
Yeah. I mean, she's already worked for Coker before.
Yeah.
So, and their friendship is good, right?
Everybody, almost everybody who's worked for Scott Coker, their friendship is good.
Yeah.
You're probably going to get paid more if you work for Scott Coker.
Right.
You're going to get
Treated
treated
better.
more respectfully.
Yeah.
Like, Scott Coker has never once come out, and he's worked with Nick Diaz. He's worked with a bunch of people that are hard to work with. Like, you think about Strikeforce, like, every Strikeforce said, Strikeforce and M1 Global present. And it's like, yeah, man, he had to put their logo in there because they had Fedor.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you had to get him. Whenever they tried to negotiate for Fedor with the UFC, he said, like Dana White said, that they were like, you need to build a stadium in Russia, like a soccer stadium. And they flew to this, like, private island in the middle of, like, nowhere. And they have this conversation with these Russian dudes about how they're going to build a soccer stadium like the UFC is to get Fedor in the UFC.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
I wish I could have been a
crazy.
fly, like, for that situation, to hear that conversation between Dana and those people.
I wish they would have done it. I wish that the Fertittas would have just bought a soccer stadium.
Put all their money into it.
Yeah. And then you would have had, like, Randy and...
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you would have
Randy and
had
Fedor.
Yeah, in Dallas Stadium in, like yeah, on the 4th
Yeah.
of July.
Yeah, International Fight
Yeah.
Week.
And Randy would get destroyed for Mother Russia on, like, our holiday in our place of worship.
So it would be like Rocky IV, the Russian versus Apollo.
Yeah, I guess if Randy's Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But see, then you could have it. The way that plays out is Randy gets destroyed, but then you bring in the new version of true Americana, which is Brock Lesnar, who just mauls him, which is sad.
Yeah, that'd be
It's-
awesome to see, though.
Well, it's sad because, like, I'm like,
that whole storyline.
yeah, and in my head, I don't want it to be true. I don't want Fedor to lose to Brock Lesnar. Like, I don't feel like that's fair.
But you think that happens?
I don't know. He lost to Bigfoot.
This is definitely going to be a
lost,
clip that I'm putting out.
He lost to Bigfoot Silva.
Yeah.
Do you think that Brock Lesnar has a better chance of getting on top of him in full mount than Bigfoot Silva?
Yeah.
And do you think that the mailbox sized fists that he's going to be just slamming into 5'11" Fedor's, like, could make middleweight, like if he wasn't pudgy and refusing to cut weight, if he was a normal guy from Nebraska and grew up cutting weight, I'm not saying that he wouldn't somehow make 170.
170?
I don't know. He's 5'11".
I'll give you 185.
He's not He's not as tall as I am. And if he could
That's
just
crazy to think about.
He's 2 inches
my
shorter
height.
than me.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if he sucked all of his water weight out,
I don't know, maybe.
and got lean,
For sure 185.
stop
for sure
drinking,
185.
stop all the vodka, do more than just like sauna and then go get in the lake, like really full blown. He would be like, I don't know that Usman wouldn't be bigger than him. Whenever they got in there and fought each other, you'd be like,
so weird to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why Cyborg should move to Bellator.
Yeah, it is. Seriously. No, okay, so to get back onto the original rant point there.
Yeah, 'cause we got one more question after this. We'll wrap this one up.
I mean, it's going to keep going. Cyborg should go where Cyborg can get paid if you're a fan of Cyborg. If you're a fan of the Just Bleed God, you wanted to fight Amanda Nunes again.
That's my pick. I really want to see that happen again.
Here's what I want to see happen. I want to see her fight Amanda Nunes again. I want it to be an all-out, ridiculous war, and I want Cyborg to win.
That would be insane.
Fast, though. Like, have it be like a 1.5-minute long fight, but it's just
nothing.
But it's just Fry Takayama. It is just like, oh my goodness, you know, like there's just
that's legitimately possible. Those two.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, you want some power? Let's feel some power.
All right, real quick. Amanda Nunes is a very skilled fighter. Great. She does a lot of charity work that I know of. But she's just one of those fighters, just like Tony Ferguson. I've just never gotten behind her. I don't know what it is. There's something about her I just haven't been able to get behind. So there is some bias in this, but I feel like Cyborg does a lot better in the second fight because I think that she doesn't come in as confident, making her less stupid, and that she's not going to come in and blitz because she respects her power now, and that Cyborg has the ability to knock her out. Nunes has more of an ability to knock Cyborg out, as we saw, but I think that a cautious Cyborg has a better chance. Not saying that she's going to win. And honestly, I'd probably put my money on Amanda, but I think that we would see a lot better fight.
I think that Cyborg's best chance of winning is like Fry Takayama or like Masvidal or just like full-blown caution to the wind. I have a power level. That is what I have on you.
But see, that first fight, though, I feel like that's what happens.
Yeah, but...
Because she did that, and then Amanda was like, oh, nope, not today.
Right, not today, but good Lord, we're going to try it again tomorrow.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Because, like, I feel like if Cyborg was allowed to do what, like, if Cyborg went in there with the game plan that Vitor Belfort had when he fought Vanderlei Silva, just straight up, like, just punching across the
Rock
cage.
And sock 'em.
Yeah, like, I mean, just run, punch, 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 straight punch, straight punch, straight punch, down the pipe, down the pipe, down the pipe, and hope that you have quicker hands and be moving forward and don't let anything set. Turn it into this nasty, just ridiculousness.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do have some kind of who's the best women's fighter of all time, the answer is Amanda Nunes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And
there's no argument.
So you have to throw it to the wind. You have to just basically have your basketball shot selection. Just we're shooting.
Mm-hmm.
I have the ball in my hand. I'm shooting the basketball. That's what, like, you cannot be afraid to pull the trigger. Go watch Chad Griggs versus Gian Vellante.
That's in your top 5, right?
It's in my
Favorite
top 5
fights?
because I think it is legitimately one of the biggest upsets that's ever happened. Because Chad Griggs is not the more skilled fighter, but Chad Griggs is not afraid to get punched in the face, and he is not going to let anyone set. He's going to bite down and throw punches.
All right.
So, yeah, Cyborg, best course for her is to fight Amanda Nunes again and then go to Bellator afterwards. Hopefully, for her, best scenario for her career is she beats Nunes and then leaves.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Final question is from Kilgore Kid _00. He said, best case scenario, next fight for Conor McGregor.
Best case scenario, next fight for Conor McGregor would be Dustin Poirier when Khabib pulls out. That's the best case scenario.
Go ahead and give that storyline out. How does that all play out?
He shows up on, like, they tell Conor to be on weight.
Well, I was about to say, this is like legitimate question. Do you think that Conor will be asked by the company to show up on weight as the backup over Tony Ferguson?
Yes.
Okay, because I think so too. And I don't think that's right. And I'm a big Conor McGregor fan, but Tony Ferguson definitely deserves that next shot. And if the company were to play by the rules, I guess Tony should be next in line, but it'll be Conor.
What rules? What rules?
If they follow like the
rules?
rankings. That's what I'm saying.
We don't follow rankings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a business, they're going to go
what's
with Conor.
Going to sell more. And here's the thing.
I guess strictly as like a mixed martial arts, who is the best fighter in the rankings? Tony Ferguson.
I feel like that's the best way to catch. It's the best case scenario. We're talking about the best case scenario for Conor.
Yeah, this is best case scenario for Conor.
This miracle for Conor, okay?
Yeah.
So the best case scenario is like 48 hours before the main event. Khabib gets cut over his eye and can't fight. Khabib's kidney shut down because he's cutting 60 pounds. And he can't fight. And Conor's there. So Conor steps in. Poirier's a man and says, let's do it. He's not a sport killer. Greg Jackson's nowhere near him. And he takes this fight that he should not take. And it goes exactly the way that the first one went.
Ooh.
Exactly, like to a T. You know? And then at the end, Conor basically does a Diaz and says that Khabib isn't really hurt. And that he's scared to fight.
He's scared. Yeah, he's scared of the rematch.
Yeah, he's scared. He was scared of this guy that I just took out like a chump, and who's a warrior who came in here and was willing to fight the real champ.
Right.
The real champ.
Yeah, the Gorilla King.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah.
Yeah, I think that Poirier is definitely a good case scenario for McGregor since he's already beaten him. Although Poirier is a totally different monster at 155. Than he was at 145. I think that, this was all rumors, but I think that the Aldo fight rematch would be a good fight for Conor. Especially if it's at 55. Because Conor's going to have the size advantage.
That's a lose-lose.
Why is that a lose-lose?
Because unless he knocks him out in 13 seconds or does like basically what he did to Alvarez against him.
I think it would look a lot like the Alvarez fight.
No,
you don't think so?
No, it won't. The
Why?
level of technical striking involved from Jose Aldo is higher than Eddie Alvarez's.
But I'm just saying, if it's the same Aldo that showed up against Volkanovski, I feel like that's an easy fight for Conor.
He won't be the same guy because he's not fighting Conor McGregor when he's fighting Volkanovski. It looks different. He's trying not to get taken down against Volkanovski.
That's true.
He's not trying to not get taken down against Conor McGregor. Also, he got knocked out in 13 seconds by Conor McGregor.
Right, and Conor's still probably in his head from that first fight.
Yeah. So he's not going to get knocked out in 13 seconds.
What I'm saying by that is like most like guaranteed path to victory. I mean, probably Aldo. Like as the legitimate fight that Conor would take. Because I mean, you could say, I don't know, just engage you, even though I don't think that Gage is an easy fight, but kind of somebody like that. But it's like Conor would never take that fight. That's not a big name. I feel like the Aldo rematch, that could headline a pay-per-view, even though it's a non-title fight.
I weirdly feel like Aldo would somehow like. Here's what wouldn't surprise me: Aldo wins in the Conor rematch and then tests positive after the fact.
And so then it's all just, that's like a lose-lose-lose situation.
Yeah, like and it'll prove what kind of got said, like all along was like, well, he did real good, and then they started USADA testing, and he got knocked out in 13 seconds. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, moving on to UFC 240.
Yes.
We've already talked a little bit about Holloway and Edgar. Was there anything else that you want to touch on about that fight in particular?
Frankie at 135 is interesting.
Very interesting.
Frankie versus Uriah Faber's fun.
Oh, that's a good fight.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
No.
It's kind of like Jim Miller and Clay Guida happening next weekend. Like, how's that fight never happened? Which, we'll touch on that at the end. But, yeah, going back to Edgar and Faber, that one's kind of weird. That one's never happened.
Well,
Was that ever scheduled and it got canceled, or?
they've been separated. When Faber was at 145, Edgar was at 155. And when Edgar was at 145, once Edgar moved to 145, Faber had moved to 135. So that's why it's never happened. So if you were to do something where clearly Edgar can make 135, you have them fight.
Yeah. Now, do you think that, well, first let me preface this by saying I don't think that he deserves an immediate shot at Cejudo. But judging by the way that he fought Max, which I scored 48-47 for Max, obviously Max won the fight, but I think it was a closer fight than most people expected. But given the fight that Frankie fought against Max Holloway, do you think that he presents a tough challenge to Henry Cejudo if he were to win one or two fights in the bantamweight division?
Yeah, totally.
Like,
Absolutely.
Put him against like Pedro Munoz, who just lost to Aljamain Sterling.
Here's what you could do. If you need an opponent, if you have Frankie make 135 and have him fight Uriah at 135, the winner of that fight, you can justifiably give them a title shot.
Okay, explain or define justifiably. Okay, because oddly enough, I can see it, even though it really doesn't make any sense. Like, let's be honest, it does not make any sense because it's not 2011.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it markets well.
At the same time,
And they're both beloved.
Michael Bisping was the champion over Luke Rockhold.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, this is how this happens. Sorry about that. So if okay, so Frankie, here's how you say it. Uriah just knocked out an undefeated guy in 30 seconds. He's back. He's the all-time king of the WEC, and
True.
he's found this new motivation. He's dad, yada yada, whatever.
And it's cornrow Faber. It's not short haircut Faber.
Yeah, there you go.
So he's like the original iconic Faber.
Exactly. There you go. He's back. He's prime. He's perfect. Then you have Frankie, who's like, the way you market that is he's always fought over his weight class to show his child that
Size doesn't matter.
So, yeah, exactly. And now he's like gonna fight at his optimal weight, where he's never lost. But he has been the champion at 20 pounds heavier and defended that belt repeated, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy to think about.
Yeah. So that's how you and like
So you think that's the best like next step for him moving forward is to drop down to 35?
yeah.
I think so too.
Or to have some kind of like favor at 45. Like,
Okay.
if they want to do that at 45.
So a big name at 45 or a drop down to 35?
Yeah.
I guess big name that's not like top 3.
Yeah.
Not
if you
like
wanted
not
to,
an
like,
Ortega, not a Holloway, not a Volkanovski.
yeah, if you wanted to bring someone in, like if you wind up getting like, I don't know, whoever you get from Bellator. Like if Pitbull shows
Yeah,
up.
that's what I was about to say.
It was like, well, you want to make him, you want to either have him make a big splash or be like, Bellator. It's going to go one of those two ways.
Okay, so he kind of becomes like the Robbie Lawler of the 45-pound division. Because that's what Robbie was, because he had Askren and now he's having Colby.
I don't feel
So
like
it's kind of like
anybody-
a top tier gatekeeper.
but I don't feel like anybody's going to style on Robbie Lawler. I feel like there are dudes that could style on Uriah Faber at this point in Uriah's life. I don't know that Uriah is going to...
Do you mean Edgar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Are we talking about Edgar or are we talking about Uriah?
Yeah, we're talking about Edgar at 45.
Yeah, okay. So, like, Edgar at 45, like, yeah, you would use him very similarly to Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Because no one's going to really make him look bad unless they're just, like, the top of the heap.
Do you think, like, a Zabit could make him look bad?
No, because I've seen Zabit not look good.
I was going to say, I feel like Zabit's kind of overrated after watching the Jeremy Stevens fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. It's kind of like, he's good, but he's not, like, jaw-dropping, at least in this fight.
I mean, he's a lot tall. He'd be really freaky tall compared to Frankie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as far as that goes, Max Holloway, man, did you hear all the brain stuff? Like, you know, he pulled out of that fight because he was slurring and had all the crazy, like,
Yeah, about a year ago, he pulled out of
stuff.
Yeah, because him and Ortega were going to co-main event Stipe and DC the first time that they fought. And then he started having the slurring and tiredness, and Bisping is the one that pointed it out.
Concussion
on an interview.
stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But I will say, there are times in interviews and stuff where that, like, part of that is how Max talks. What he was doing was definitely, like, concussion related, all that. But he always does have that. No, that wasn't good. But he does have, like, a little, like, slur. Kind of sound like Diaz for a second. It was like a,
yeah,
hey, guy. Like,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah. His accent is slurry.
It's kind of like Kawhi's laugh.
Yeah. I was going to try it, but it probably wouldn't sound good, so.
I wish that we could do a podcast with Kawhi Leonard about MMA.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. He would just say, I don't know, like, to everything. Like, he'd be like,
I don't really know.
Yeah.
Next question. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. That's awesome.
Better than my Max impression.
So, but yeah, man, like, he's not okay. Like, we know that,
That's what
right?
that's leading to.
Like, we know that, right? Like, you don't just get better, right? Like, if you do that once, you shouldn't get hit in the head anymore, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then you went and did you see what Dustin Poirier did to him?
Yeah.
That's not okay.
Yeah.
You've seen it. I can show you a video right now. Like, no, man.
I know, and he's only like 28, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's still such a good fighter.
Yeah, and he constantly is putting up cute pictures with his kid.
Yeah.
You know?
His kid's the
Like,
cutest.
yeah. His child is crying, and Poirier's like, your dad's a champ, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
Toes on the heart.
I don't know. I did
And
say.
Shaquille O'Neal. Did you see that?
I didn't see shit. Oh, yeah, I did see
Yeah,
Shaq.
because Shaq was like cage side with him, and he's like,
Yeah, I saw
comforting him.
that. My question is, when are we going to have a society that's gone so to the point of across the lines and, like, disrespectful that somebody who wants a fight with Holloway is going to come up backstage and be like, your daddy got knocked out. Like, daddy's not going to remember your name. Then she's going to start a brawl, and then there you go.
Yeah.
3-piece and a soda.
I don't know. Hopefully never.
I give his kid a Happy Meal. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully never. I don't really know how else to reply to that.
What if John Jones did it? What if John Jones went up to Max Holloway's kid and started clowning him after his dad lost? What would be the reaction?
He gets to headline the next
I
pay-per-view.
mean, he would headline the next
with
pay-per-view.
Greg Hardy's at the co-main event.
He needs to have his first fight be against Greg Hardy at heavyweight.
Dude, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Because like I was telling you, like I like low-key cheer for the villains. So it would be a fun fight for me to watch.
like
and then it's like what you were saying.
Well,
it's a
like-
win-win for
Right. It is a perfect
95%.
win-win. Yeah. Because doesn't matter who loses just as long as someone gets hurt. You can be like, yep, there we go. It's a bad person hurting another bad person. Good.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
So
the rest of the UFC 240 card, we've already touched on Cyborg a lot. Pretty much said everything that we need to be said, unless you have anything else.
she didn't look as powerful as she normally does.
Yeah, that's true.
Spencer looked like she was made of iron, but other than that, yeah.
Yeah. The rest of the card, honestly, no really big names. Jeff Neal got a good knockout over Nico Price in the featured fight. Anything else you want to comment about for the card?
The first fight on the card, the flyweight fight, was really good. Pantoja. The fight that was the upset pick that Terrence Howard had.
Okay.
Yeah, his upset pick. That was a wonderful fight. The first fight.
Did the upset win?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I wasn't able to watch the prelims because I was on vacation. I didn't even watch the main card in real time. I had to go back and watch it a couple days later.
It was a good fight. Yeah.
Okay.
But, the upset guy won,
Yeah.
and very good fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't figured out the points yet with their picking game, but they're pretty far ahead now after that card. They got a lot of good picks.
I went with my instinct, which was incorrect, which was Frankie Edgar. So they got a lot of points.
Yeah.
You know
That's
the
okay,
two things.
I
You know the two
advise you
things
not
that
to,
have-
but if you did the same to me, I would still pick it.
Well,
so.
you know the two things that have screwed me was Frankie Edgar and Anderson Silva.
Yeah, you're relying
'Cause
too
I
much
was
on
like,
that old school.
Yeah, exactly. Two
Yeah.
old school champions that I'm like, they're not going to lose. They shouldn't be an underdog. Then they lost.
Yeah. Well, maybe at 241 we'll catch up with them, but we'll see how it all plays out. So finally, to close out the podcast, our picks for Robbie Lawler versus Colby Covington, the UFC. I want to say it's UFC on ESPN 5 card
Yeah.
happening this week in Newark, New Jersey. Is that how you pronounce it? Is it Newark or Newark? Do you know?
Newark.
Newark, New Jersey.
That wasn't a real question. You know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Newark.
Newark.
It's like when you interviewed Gutierrez and you're like, El Guapo, what does that mean? And I'm like, really? Like, come
Yeah, I have
on.
no idea.
Yeah. Well, Boss Rutan, back in the day, he
It's
was
more
just,
the old school.
he was just on Pride commentary, and for no reason, like in the middle of it, he just was like, I will no longer be known as Boss Rutan. I will only be known as El Guapo. And he's like laughing, and then they just like call him El Guapo and stuff.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
I guess that's
handsome.
where our age difference comes in.
Yeah.
How old are
But
you?
Spanish, man.
Yeah,
I'm-
that's
I'm
true. But I mean,
35.
that in particular. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm 20 for everybody listening out there. So we have a 15-year age difference.
But I figure in 15 years, Tennessee should have more Spanish knowledge.
Like
And-
15 years from this point.
Well, 15 years, like the 15 years that I spent
Oh, I mean,
alive.
I probably learned it. I can say like a sentence in Spanish, but I didn't remember that phrase. I was
Okay.
thinking it meant fat, but I knew that wasn't it. 'cause that
Gordo.
wouldn't be- That's
Gordo
why.
is fat.
That's why.
Guapo is pretty.
Yeah. So
for a
getting
boy.
away from Spanish and getting to Colby
Mhm.
Covington.
Those
The
nachos.
full, yeah. Yeah, Colby Covington and Robbie Lawler headlining next week's card.
Yep.
A pretty interesting main event. Kind of weird that Colby's not fighting for the title, that never got finalized, and he's fighting number 10 ranked Robbie Lawler, whose ranking doesn't really matter because he's Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we disagree on how this one goes from how we previously talked,
I
but
think Robbie's going to win.
yeah, so we do disagree. So
Yeah.
how do you see Robbie getting it done?
I think he knocks him unconscious.
Okay. What round? Is this going to happen early on? Are we going to see this dragged into later rounds? And is this a clean KO or is this like a referee stoppage TKO?
One punch.
Mm.
Brutal.
Like lights out,
Yeah.
extra punches?
No. They don't dislike
Walk
each
off?
other. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think he'll try and... I mean, he might... If he's not unconscious, he'll follow him down and kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I don't think he's going to Dan Henderson him. Where he's like, oh, he's down now. I'm going to smash his face in because he said all that stuff on the show.
Yeah, or Masvidal to ask
Yeah,
him.
exactly. Because, like, Covington in the lead up to this has been really, like, Robbie Lawler's a warrior champion.
Yeah, but he has said,
unlike Marty from Nebraska who won't fight me.
Yeah, that is true. But he has pointed out a lot about Robbie leaving the gym, an American top team, and calling him a baby pretty much for leaving, because he said that Robbie left the gym because whenever Tyron Woodley beat him, because, Woodley trains an American top team, or at least used to. I don't think that he's changed. But they hung up a picture of Woodley getting his hand raised. And so Colby claims that at that point Robbie saw that and he was like, I'm done. And he left the gym.
Yeah.
So he's kind of used that as an attack, saying that he's being a baby and, I would never turn my back, and that...
So where is he training now?
I don't know where he's training now. But I know that Colby is now, according to Colby, the team captain at American Top Team.
That's not good.
And what is the owner or the coaches of that's name? The main guy. Is it Dan something?
Yeah. He was on the season of Ultimate Fighter.
Yes. He said... Or Colby said that he has to bring Robbie's head back to him to show them what loyalty's all about. So he's heated it up.
Did Robbie go to the Black Zillions? Did he go to the team that was the
train with Rashad Evans?
That's what he should do. Yeah. He should. I don't know.
He does. He trains with. He does train with Usman, because in the build up to Woodley and Askren, it was Woodley and Askren as a team, and then Lawler and Usman. I remember that. I don't know if he trains with them or if Robbie was just helping Usman. But there was a pairing of those two. So for everybody out there that knows, sorry for this.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Yeah.
Who was Usman going to fight?
Usman was fighting Woodley. Askren
Okay.
was fighting Robbie. UFC 235 earlier this year in March.
So Robbie's supposed to emulate Tyron Woodley?
I don't know if that was his role. I just know that they were training together. Because that joke about the Black Zillions, I was like, well, hold on. There is, kind of some truth to that.
I hope so.
Yeah. And that he was with Usman. But like I said, I don't know if that was that fight.
That gets super weird if he wins.
Yeah.
If Robbie wins.
But he already fought Tyron. He was his teammate. So.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that Robbie won't fight him. I'm just saying,
it's going to be weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, Usman, if Robbie wins, that means that Usman fights who?
Well,
Conor McGregor?
That was my that was my question for you. Welterweight's really weird right now. Colby should have gotten a title shot as the interim champion. This is any bias aside, whether you love him or hate him, as the interim champion, her next fight should be against the champion. He gets stripped because he was supposed to fight Woodley, and then Usman comes in and beats Woodley. So Woodley has been calling for a rematch. Not anytime recently, but after the fight first ended. Colby's all about, I'm the real champ. This is going to be my first title defense against Robbie Lawler. And then Masvidal's coming in with the three-piece and the flying knee, saying that he deserves the shot. I guess the way
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, the way I see playing it out, if Colby wins, I don't think there's any room for debate. He's next in line.
Correct.
If Robbie wins, Masvidal versus Usman.
Ugh.
I feel like it's hard for them to market Lawler off of a one-fight win, even though his loss to Askren was controversial.
So who's Usman fighting right now?
Nobody.
No one. There's not a fight
because he's injured.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, ugh.
That's what I'm saying. It's a weird division.
And then you got Pettis and Diaz.
Yeah, just throwing down, kind of in the middle of the rankings.
Yeah. And then whoever
and both
wins.
Two light guys who I feel like Usman just throws around.
Oh, yeah. You would talk about watching somebody get mauled, have Diaz fight Usman.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we saw Henderson versus
Diaz, which is this ridiculous back ride festival. Come on, man. Horrible position.
Right.
Just like GSP and Diaz. When you finally got GSP and Nick Diaz, man, that was like Christmas morning. And then all of a sudden, it was just oh, wait a minute. Here's reality. That, the perfected wrestler will perfectly maul Nick Diaz.
Yeah.
Because he's in perfect form.
Yeah.
But I do still agree that if Nick Diaz and GSP walked into an alley and only one guy is coming out of the alley. Nick Diaz is coming back out. It might be like 2.5 hours later. But, like, if it's a fight to the death,
Yeah.
I think Nick Diaz beats almost everybody.
Really?
To the death?
Do you
Yeah.
think he's like that durable?
Yes. He's that durable, and he's that, like, gas tank never ends. He runs triathlons. He never gets tired, and he's more durable than anybody. So if it comes down to, like...
Just till you can't breathe anymore.
He's basically gonna, I bet you, if it was legitimately a fight to the death against someone who's super dangerous, he's gonna hold them in his guard and lock them down and make them as tired as he can.
Like body triangle them?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Just sap their energy as much as he can and then get them.
Okay.
Yeah. Cyborg should go to Strikeforce.
I was about to say, so that's why Jorge Masvidal should fight for the 170-pound title.
Let me say this. Jorge Masvidal is going to lose whoever he fights in this scenario.
I saw a perfect tweet about him.
What was it?
Jorge Masvidal went from the most underrated fighter on the UFC roster to the most overrated in 5 seconds, following the Ben Askren knee.
Yeah.
I think that's 100% true.
Well, only because it's like he should fight Usman. Like, it's only because that's what they're saying. It's like he should fight the champion. And it's like, well, no, he shouldn't. But then again, neither should Michael Bisping.
Yeah, which that one was on late notice.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't the scheduled fighter.
Also, Usman hasn't already knocked out Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's not just a random victim showing up on short notice to be like, oh, I've got you. And then be like, do you know where you are? Huh?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah. So who in your mind do you think should challenge for the title?
Michael Bisping. He makes 170.
If you're Sean Shelby, who are you putting in there?
Put Nick Newell in there. Let's see. Fighting Usman at 170.
Right.
You know what I would try and do? Legitimately,
what are you trying to do?
I would try and get GSP to come back and fight Usman at 170.
Okay, elaborate.
I would try and get GSP to... I would offer him $10 million or whatever he wants. Half the pay-per-view. You know, give him his own show on the Ocho or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would be great. That'd be golden. You make money with a GSP reality show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not impressed with this television show.
Yeah. About him, like, finding aliens or something.
It would just
like
be him
like,
going...
finding dinosaur bones.
It would just be him going around to, like, different places in, like, a disguise and... at the end of it, he would be not impressed with people's performance at their, like, workplace.
Maybe we should hit him up for a show idea.
Yeah, it'd be good. But no, if I was Sean Shelby, I would throw $1 bajillion at GSP.
Okay.
To come fill this void while we figure out if Colby's going to fight Usman.
Okay.
And if GSP fights Usman and wins, you have him fight Nurmagomedov.
Okay, that's how you get that super fight.
In Dagestan.
And do they create the 165-pound division? And it's like, this is for the inaugural championship, or do you do, like, GSP cuts to 155 to beat Khabib in his weight in his hometown?
I think they probably do it at 170, and Khabib is challenging for the 170-pound belt to be the double champ.
Okay.
Because you'll have beaten Ferguson by then and have cleaned the... I mean, you never clean out 155, but...
He, air quotes, cleans it out?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Everybody else is like, you're going to get mauled. Yeah. So he moves up, fights GSP, super fight at 170 in, like, the Warlord's mansion. And, yeah.
Okay.
In Mecca.
So,
they have it in Mecca. They have it, like, at the Dome of the Rock, and, like, with all the dudes, like, circling constantly.
yeah.
They have the cage in the middle of that, and GSP just
And then his
seat
towel of
belts
a
him.
wife comes out. Cage side.
GSP comes out in his gi with the
headband,
the rising sun headband.
Yeah, so iconic. All right, so back to Colby and Robbie. To wrap this thing up, I think that Colby wins by decision. I think that it looks a lot like the Dos. I about said it accidentally. The Dos Anjos.
Dos Nachos fight.
Yeah, the Dos Anjos fight for both of them. I think that Colby's going to do to Robbie what he did to RDA. I think that it's going to look like what RDA did to Robbie.
So Robbie's going to blow his knee out, allowing him to lose to an inferior opponent?
Not exactly.
I mean, I agree with that. If his knee blows out, he will lose to Robbie. He will lose to Colby.
Yeah. I think they're both elite level guys. Anything could happen, but if I had to put my money on it, I would pick Colby by decision.
Then Colby fights Clay Guida.
At a catchweight fight or a catchweight bout.
Guida just goes up to 170.
Yeah, we'll close on that. Jim Miller, Clay Guida is your co-main event. Kind of showing you how the rest of the card is. A lot like UFC 240.
I mean, like
trash.
I like that. Like, I like that fight. But
I
that's
do
not
too.
the co-main event on a ESPN card, man.
Should be either the head or the headline of the golly, I cannot talk. The headline of the prelims or the opening of the main card.
I think I tweeted something about feels like it should be in Abu Dhabi on Fuel, that I'm watching Jim Miller and what's happening? Why is this happening? Not to try and say anything negative about Jim Miller and Clay Guida. They're both good fighters.
Right.
But
both would be great to interview on this podcast in the future.
Yeah. Jim Miller has that Charles Oliveira win.
Mm-hmm.
It's just beauty, of being I don't care that you're I'm not scared of you. I'm a black belt too.
Right.
I'll choke you.
Yeah. But official prediction for that fight.
They're both so long in the tooth, man. I want Guida to win, but I think that Miller will win. I think that Miller's better everywhere than Clay Guida, right? Except for maybe cardio.
Yeah.
And it's not like I've ever seen Jim Miller just huffing wind. I just don't think of him as this crazy pace guy. Guida's a put the pace on you guy. Always moving, never gets tired.
Yeah.
Him and Diaz is good.
I just feel like Clay's gonna sneak one out, a decision, probably 29-28 on all the scorecards.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I don't think.
That's true.
It's
kind of like the BJ fight.
Yeah, Clay.
It's we're just doing this to do it because you guys are both still in the UFC when you don't need to be.
So one thing before we go, quick shout out to Jimmy Smith, the former Bellator commentator, former UFC commentator. Jimmy Smith, Fight Quest TV show guy.
Mm-hmm.
He explained why BJ Penn is going to fight in the UFC and lose a bajillion times is because right now Bellator is doing real well with their marketing in Hawaii with Alina Leigh McFarland, their girl champ at 125.
Okay.
135, 125.
Gotcha. I'm not for sure either.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a problem that I don't know. And I have an MMA podcast. I don't know.
That's okay. We both didn't know. So.
But she's a pretty big deal in Hawaii. And so Jimmy Smith says, yeah, BJ Penn is going to be allowed to fight the UFC until there's never a chance that he can go to Bellator and sell out an arena in Hawaii. Because, if they did a card where it was Alina Leigh McFarland was the headliner and then BJ Penn versus a guy on the street, it's going to sell out in Hawaii.
Nick Newell.
Yeah. Nick Newell would beat BJ Penn.
Oh, I think so too. I don't even know. What's Newell's weight?
155. Yeah.
Okay.
They could do that.
Yeah.
Newell would win.
I think so too.
It's great that
Knockout
there's a guy
with his slider.
It'd be so great that there's a guy that can't win Dana White's contenders. But I'm confident. I think that he would be the favorite, from Las Vegas. I know that
on Bovada,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
negative 120.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. But yeah, he's gonna be allowed to fight into eternity.
Yeah, and he's fighting Nick Lentz.
Nick
This
Lentz
is
is
upcoming
going to
fight.
maul him. This is my lock of the millennia.
That will also be my lock too.
Nick Lentz is going to kill BJ Penn. And usually I'm like, I hope I'm wrong. And I'm like, the way he's been acting lately, I'm not necessarily sure hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Like, he seems like he's really in a bad place. But see that thing where his coach was like, yeah, I'm going to corner him because him keep him fighting, it puts him in a good place mentally and, you know, with his life and everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's like under multiple investigations.
Yeah.
For like multiple assaults. And not sure that that's the case. But on that note.
So I have Colby and Guida for the main and co-main, and you have Robbie and Miller.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll close out with our quote of the day, which is from Max Holloway, which was posted to our Instagram, which you can follow at The Fight Addicts. It is, I want to be a champion. I want to be a long-reigning featherweight champion. I want to be known in the history books. My name everywhere as a champion. So that was from Max Blessed Holloway to close out the show. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of The Fight Addicts. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to us. Or if you're listening on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate that. Be sure that you're following us on any of our social media profiles, Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, where you can find us at The Fight Addicts. And follow me and Ben personally on Twitter at TFA_Seth and follow him at TFA_Ben. Thank you guys for listening, and we will see y'all next time.
Peace.